Greetings, fellow anthropomorphic ducks. Tiki here.
And Jacob Lyle too.
I need to come up with better greeting than that, but it's early, Jacob. It's way earlier than we usually do these things, so it's the best I can do right now. Welcome to Tiki's Universe, folks. This is a slightly different installment of Tiki's Universe. Usually we use Tiki's Universe as our umbrella show to do stuff like Steven Universe reactions. We just got done covering Star vs. Force of Evil Season 2, and it was amazing. And
Yeah.
Milo Murphy's coming back. Samurai Jack's coming back in like a week. Crazy stuff. But Jacob, one of the big shows that's going to be under the Tiki's Universe banner once it premieres is, of course, DuckTales. A woohoo! And Jacob, I just, for the record, I just still want the show to just be called DuckTales Woohoo. It's like the classy version of Teen Titans Go.
Okay.
Anyways, Jacob, so yesterday we got a big surprise. We got a full minute and 30-second trailer that dived right into all the style and humor, gave us a sense of the voices. What were your overall thoughts on the trailer when you saw it?
Definitely surprised. I mean, usually they announce these kind of things a bit, but they're like, nope, here it is.
Right. It's like happy birthday. But I mean, I've said this before, Jacob. You know it, and this is Webby, freaking Webby, man. I think Webby coming out of this trailer, she is like the best thing about this trailer, just because of how they. And I've been saying this through our speculation and stuff, just based on like, look at the promo image of Webby right there. You can tell that she's a different character than the adorable, sickly, cute, useless Webby of days past. This Webby is going to have a ton of personality, Jacob, and just I don't know. I'm just based on the little bit we saw of her just being a total fangirl over the Donald Duck mythology and just being stoked to meet Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I'm like, that's a really clever way to go with it. That's also a cool way to kind of reference the fact that Donald Duck is this action hero. That was just kind of my main takeaway from the trailer. I will admit, I'm still kind of getting used to not having Alan Young as Scrooge, as awesome as David Tennant is. All the other voices work fairly well. I think with the nephews, again, it's good. It's just going to be maybe getting used to not having Russi Taylor in there. But most of the voices work well, and some of the voices are improvements, like Webby, of course. But overall, Jacob, what was your main kind of takeaway from the trailer before we go frame by frame through it?
It's actually nice to see that actually hear a bit of Donald in this series for once.
Yes, and I'm stoked on Donald, man, and the thing, like, if this show goes here, then I am just going to heap praise upon the show if they touch on Donald Duck having a military background.
I'm not sure if I'll go that far, but it would be pretty interesting.
I mean, he was in the Navy in the original, right? So it's not that big of a stretch.
Maybe not.
All right, we'll see. So, Jacob, anything you want to get into before we go to the trailer itself?
No, that in somewhat contrast to you, I'm actually looking forward to not just looking forward, but I actually do like the voice they chose for Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, don't get me wrong. David Tennant's amazing, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. We'll get into kind of some of my reservations for the placement of some of his lines. I guess really quick, I think maybe if they would have had the smarter than the smarties and tougher than the toughies thing at the end, I understand why that line's in there. But if it wasn't the first thing that we hear David Tennant say, if it was like the last thing we hear David Tennant say in the trailer, I think it would come off better for me personally, just because obviously the whole smarter than the smarties, tougher than toughies thing, classic Scrooge McDuck line, dates back to the comic books. And of course, you just can't help but hear Alan Young when you hear that line. You know what I mean? All right.
I understand, but nice, and I like to keep Bob Dylan. I like to keep moving forward, and I do think it suits it well.
Okay, well let's get right into it then. Let's go to the trailer. Let me full screen it.
Don't sue us.
No, please, please. Hey, I'm watching you guys. I'm Ray Romano.
So first thing out of the bed, what do you think of the whole art style shift?
Well, I mean, the art style is interesting, Jacob. Let's just kind of break this down right now because a lot of
Because
people.
one thing I noticed even from the earliest artwork is that like even the halftones, everything, it's looked like they're making it look like straight out of a comic book.
It's definitely got a lot of pencil lines to it, which I really like. Like the lines aren't as thick as classic Disney. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they're bringing a comic book to life almost.
Now, I want to address something that people have been complaining about, saying that it's too simplistic. And I mean, Jacob, I think there's such a difference between being stylistic like this or versus something like, let's say a Teen Titans Go or a Powerpuff Girls 2016, where the simplicity of those shows is just simply like, hey, look, we look completely generic and just like everything else on the channel. That's the simplicity of those shows. I think the simplicity of this is kind of getting away from like the traditional hand-drawn feel of the original DuckTales, which very much did kind of fit into the classic mold of a Walt Disney kind of like hand-drawn cartoon. Whereas, like you said, the comic book look, of course, does two things. It pays homage to the comic book roots of these characters, which is great. And it also gives the series a standout style to set it apart from the original.
And then if you notice very closely, you can see like halftones that like look like it's straight out of a comic book print.
Exactly. Okay. What do you think of the car having this sort of like Siri type like male voice in it, like Destination McDuck Manor?
I didn't really pay much heed to it. I mean, it's just pretty interesting. Like, so it's like it's not like a so that it does take kind of like hinting that it does take place in the modern day.
It does. It does. I just hope to God the nephews aren't like carrying smartphones around anywhere. That's my one fear, but we'll get into it.
And thus we introduce to the nephews themselves.
Yeah, and Jacob, I like basically from a minute and 20 seconds of this trailer, I already have a firmer grasp on what the three personalities of the nephews are like than the entirety of the original DuckTales series. The entirety of it. uh it definitely seems like Louie is going to be kind of be the oddball one, just based on this shot right here. He's kind of sulking down.
The evil, yeah, remember the evil twin.
Of course, of
Evil
course. And then I'm pretty sure Huey is going to be the leader.
Well,
Like
he's
always the leader, right? And then I think Dewey is just going to be like the outwardly optimistic kind of like Bubbles type of character. Where it's kind of funny, like if you go on the Powerpuff Girls like color scale, I think Dewey is the Bubbles, Huey is the Blossom, and Louie is the Buttercup.
What I was about to think. And Donald's in a suit.
Yep, and Donald's Professor Utonium. That works so well. But yeah, like I said, just the fact that we can break it down and be like, okay, these are the three characters and these are the three personality types. Literally just based on the first time we see the nephews, just based on the animation, I'm like, okay. This is
what about their voice? And what about their voices?
I mean, I'm not completely sold on their voices just yet, but we'll see. I definitely think it's going to be an improvement over just having Russi Taylor do all three of them and doing them like identical to each other. So
I hope so. I mean, some people said that like they don't really sound like kids, but it's
I could see that. Honestly, that is kind of a legitimate concern. And there's the man himself. Okay, first of all, I love how the portrait of Scrooge looks almost identical to how Scrooge looked in the original show.
Except
I mean, it's a little bit more angular, but you know what? It's got like the same sort of shading to it.
And plus the paintings are stylistic homage to Karl Barks's paintings.
Sure. And there he is.
The man, the myth, the duck.
Oh yeah. Okay, so just this is an interesting thing to go on the whole like you used to be a big deal.
It's like he used to like. I wonder what that's actually supposed to mean, like in the context of this show.
Maybe I mean in the context of this, of course it's sort of a meta like, hey, DuckTales used to be really big and now it's coming back. You know what I
And
mean?
also hint like that they haven't used Scrooge McDuck a lot lately.
Of course, of course. But no, in the context of the show, I think probably I mean my best guess to what it means is that Scrooge McDuck at the start of the series is kind of out of the archaeology, like Indiana Jones adventures
And
type of thing.
was probably retired to like focus on his business or something.
Exactly, exactly. So when they say you used to be a big deal, I'd be curious to see if Scrooge and Donald have had adventures in the past. You know what I
But
mean?
but that's over that. Okay, go on ahead. Sorry, I mean we can move forward. I was about to bring something up, but I'll bring it up when the time comes.
No, I'm just saying since we already established that Donald himself is kind of this famous adventurer type within the context of the series, maybe Scrooge McDuck was like the guy financing his adventures or something like that. Maybe Scrooge was like really involved in Donald Duck's legacy. I don't know.
But that brings the question, though, as evidence later on. How come the nephews don't know about any of that?
That's true. That's true. I mean, the nephews are very young, and it could have happened like, decades ago for all we know.
Maybe.
So,
I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
and anyways, let's continue forward.
And then the first words we ever hear him speak used to be a big deal.
Which is great. That right there, it's kind of like, okay, David Tennant's kind of coming into his own. Like I said, Jacob, this might be a nitpick on my end. I probably wouldn't have the next line be the exact next thing he says, just because it kind of gets compared to Alan Young a lot, but still, it's not a big deal. It sounds fine. Okay, and here we go with freaking Webby, man. I don't know. Am I crazy for thinking that she's going to be the highlight of the show?
I don't know. We'll see. Firstly, that she might end up being just as annoying. Who knows?
Well, okay, hold on. I just noticed this. Look at the original, like, it's like a doll that has the original Webby costume on it with an arrow through it.
Yep.
I think that's a good sign, Jacob. I think that's a good sign for this character. I mean, I definitely think Webby, the character, she's always going to be a little overbearing, and I definitely don't think it's going to be any different for this character. But I just think she has such a personality to her and such a distinct, like, it's not just like adorable, sickly, cute little girl. It's way more than that. It's kind of goes in sort of the opposite direction of sickly cute in some ways.
Hopefully, it's just not like too overbearing in a way.
Yeah, we'll see. Who's the evil triplet? Louis. Yep.
You gotta really deny it.
No, he's like, yeah.
Looks like Donald's almost scared to go on an adventure again.
Wait, shoot. No.
Awesome.
No.
Glossaric, no.
Not Glossaric.
He betrayed us again. Dang you, darn you, Glossaric.
Okay.
It almost looks like she's almost a stalker.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. But you know what it really reminds me of, Jacob? Look, I never really got too much into this show, but it reminds me of what the Looney Tunes show did to Lola Bunny.
Makes sense.
Where, it's still not like, it's still kind of an obnoxious character, but it's obnoxious in kind of a really fun way, instead of just like, oh, yeah, she's a female. She's hot. That's a character trait, right? So, anyways.
I said, from here it almost looks like Donald's almost scared of going on adventures.
Could be.
But it's actually cool to see Donald Duck in action. We never actually got to see that in the original show.
No, because every time Donald showed up in the original show, he wouldn't even get to be a part of the main episode. At least from what we've seen so far. I'm still mad at that Sarkis episode. Sarkis, more like Suckus. Oh, God. And nobody knows what we're referring to because that's an obscure episode. Anyways. But yeah, Donald in his classic sailor suit, just doing these Indiana Jones type adventures. Swordplay looks really cool.
And blocking his tail.
And of course, classic Donald Duck humor at the same time.
Yes. Looks like they're gonna like bringing in both aspects of the character.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Like the best of both worlds.
Okay, and this is kind of where Young starts to. I'm sorry, not obviously not Alan Young. This is where Tenet starts to really sell me here. Is this whole line like, "I run a multi-trillion-dollar business."
Running it. This should be nothing out of the ordinary.
Love the dropping the coins into the money bank too. I love how that's gonna, I'm sure that'll be a big location within the context of the series.
And of course, you think it's McDuck actually whipping? And look at the state of the manor too. I mean, it looks like it's almost dilapidated.
You know what? That's an interesting point. Yeah, it's I mean, in the room that we met Scrooge with the big portrait and stuff, that seems okay. Like, I think maybe like the main rooms that Scrooge wants to look presentable are going to be presentable.
Yeah, but like,
I'm willing to guess probably like a lot of the guest rooms and whatnot have fallen into disrepair.
it looks like, as if you noticed when he was walking around earlier and dusting up, like a lot of places looked like it was trashed.
Okay.
Like, and then this is like almost looks like it's completely fallen into disrepair. Like,
right.
Like, does he not care? Has he just not been home for a while?
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's a submarine.
Yes.
Basically an ordinary day plan.
I like how he has a cell phone or a walkie-talkie or something, but it's not a smartphone.
That doesn't really concern me.
Smartphones concern me, Jacob. Smartphones very much concern me.
Why is that?
Because smartphones are just going to consistently evolve with time. And so if we have a show that specifically uses a current model of a smartphone, it's just going to really date it.
Like the old show used walkie-talkies and floppy disks.
Yeah, what's more timeless than a floppy disk?
What's more dated than a floppy disk?
Fair enough. You got me. I don't know. Mainly, it's just because I don't want to see the nephews as those types of characters who are just like, oh, we're constantly on our phones. We're constantly checking our phones. Ha ha ha. Phone humor, memes. Maybe I'm just really weary from the Powerpuff Girls, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie are definitely like the three characters that if they want to inject some kind of like crappy current Powerpuff Girls style humor into it, they would do it through those characters. I have faith in the show that it's not going to go that route. I'm just saying the potential is there with like, like young hip tween kids in Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I don't know. Just voicing my concern, not necessarily saying the show's going to go that route, just voicing my concern. Lance? What do you think of the theme song? Oh God, by the way, this is look at this. I didn't even notice the horse was headless. Holy crap. That's dark.
He's a horseless headsman, I guess.
That's great. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a really original design for a villain.
And plus the head catches on fire almost. But I mean, we haven't heard enough of the theme song really to make any judgment on it. Oh, that looks like I didn't notice Webby's trapped them. If you look at that picture, she's like ensnared them almost.
Oh God!
That's her room.
It is her room. Yes. Oh God. Again, I don't know, Jacob. I think I'm more optimistic about Stalker Webby than you are because, like I said, at least.
I mean, trust me, I'm optimistic about her. I'm just saying there's a possibility she could like just degrade into an even more just as annoying character.
But
Who
she's
knows?
gonna be an annoying character that has way more of a personality, though.
Well, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not denying that. That doesn't necessarily mean we'll have to like it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Like I said, too early to pass judgment on that kind of thing. Well, I do like the dragon though. That's actually pretty cool. I mean, I don't think we ever saw anything like that in the original show.
No, I don't think so either. And it
Well, I
kind
mean,
of
other than the time the Beagle Boy got turned into one.
reminds me of the classic Disney Channel show from about 15 years ago, American Dragon Jake Long.
Yeah,
maybe kind of a callback to that a little bit.
there's even a Chinese dragon, which is interesting.
Exactly. That's a lot of snakes.
Why did it have to be snakes?
Oh God, poor Launchpad.
I said, the theme song's okay. I mean, we have to hear. I probably have to hear more of the whole thing to actually pass judgment onto it. But we'll see.
I mean, just going based on my first impressions of it, I think there might be a little too much like orchestration to it. Like the instrumentation just sounds a little like extreme. It's very synthesized too, but it's fine. And like you said, we'll probably have to wait until more of the actual song gets released. I'm sure we'll probably get the full song before we get the series, much like they released Milo Murphy's Law theme song, like about a month or two early. So I'm sure we'll be getting it soon.
And who do you think this guy is?
Well, I think this guy must be the same, like the horseman.
The headless horseman.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. I'm trying to figure out a clever title for him, but it's like I'm curious. One of the things I'm curious about with the show is the villains. I'm not sure if we're gonna have people like Magica Dispel back, or people like. I'm sure the Beagle Boys will be involved in some capacity.
I can actually check it. I can actually check to see real quick.
Not really sure about Glomgold. We haven't seen anything from Glomgold so far. So I'm kind of hoping we get those classic villains in there to kind of be the overarching villains, because these villains, they seem fine, but they seem kind of generic at the same time. It's just like, oh, it's a ghost. Ooh.
I'm checking the Wikipedia page, and it says the characters Gyro, Gearloose, Magica Dispel, Duckworth, Flintheart Glomgold, Gladstone Gander, and the Beagle Boys will make appearances.
Okay, well, that's good to know, and I can't wait to see Duckworth as well. He's an unsung hero of DuckTales.
Very good. Good sir. Mr. McDuck.
I don't know. I'm just kind of hoping that the villains that we're seeing in these early, I mean, keep in mind the original DuckTales, there were plenty of episodes with not so stellar villains like Sarkis, but it's I don't know. I'm kind of hoping these are just kind of like generic, kind of like villain of the week type villains, and that will continue to have characters like Glomgold and Magica be the main overarching villains.
That would be nice.
All right.
I do like the overall design and the whole flame look. So.
The flaming skull is a good touch. I will admit that.
And the fact that he rides a headless horse.
Mm-hmm. I like how Scrooge has these. I don't know. What do you think of these like suits of armor hanging upside down in the treasure room?
I don't know. It's like probably like knowing him, it's probably some kind of security system.
That's what I'm thinking too. That's exactly what I'm thinking, and I like that.
I just noticed there's actually somebody down there in the bin. Who do you think that is?
Oh, well, he has a kilt, so it actually could be Flintheart.
Or do you think it's actually his money bin, or because I don't remember seeing that ruby. That could be like an entirely separate treasure room.
That's actually very possible. That's a really good point. I think it is a separate treasure room.
But if that's Glomgold, he does look pretty fat.
He does, but I think it's probably Glomgold though, because of the kilt.
Well, I mean, it kind of looks like, but what's that thing beside him, or that's like a treasure? I don't know.
Who knows?
See that little thing down like next to him?
Yeah, the blue thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what that is. Or
I'm guessing it's just some sort of jewel or artifact or something.
Whatever it is, it looks like Glomgold's going after the if that's Glomgold, whoever it is.
I hope it's Glomgold.
I mean,
I
it
hope
has the,
Glomgold got fat. That would be a fun, a fun twist for the character.
I mean, it has a beret, a blue coat, and a green kilt. That's definitely Glomgold.
Exactly.
And you can even see a little bit of a tail coming out. That's definitely
Uh-huh.
Glomgold.
Yeah. Okay. Also looks like he's got a couple other people kind of following after him, but I won't go back.
Underwater city.
Yeah, it's just all stuff that, we're kind of expecting to see from the DuckTales stuff. A lot of adventure, a lot of unique exotic locations and whatnot, cool Indiana Jones type stuff. I'm more wondering if the show's gonna have an overarching plot like Star vs. Forces of Evil or Gravity Falls did, but we'll see. It doesn't necessarily need to, but I'd like to
It could
see
be
at
like
least
I kind of hope it like follows like the inspirations of the original comics. It's a kind of like a pulp series.
where it's kind of like one cliffhanger to another cliffhanger.
Not necessarily, but maybe not necessarily like that. But like each like story is contained, and maybe like kind of like a contained story, but also like has bits of an overarching plot, I guess.
Okay, so you're saying like more self-contained. Yeah. That's probably the way they're going to go with it. It'd be interesting if they did.
What would be interesting is, I mean, because it says there are like a couple hour long episodes this season.
Okay.
But maybe it's like maybe they like do more standalone stuff in the first season, like experiment with how it goes, and
Uh,
then probably since it's been confirmed for a second season. I mean, yesterday they just confirmed it for a second season. Maybe for the second season they go into more plot heavy stuff.
Kind of sounds a little bit like Star Season 1 in a way, because Star Season 1, there was a couple big plot things, mostly the stuff going on with Toffee. But for the most part, Star Season 1 was just, getting to know the character, getting to know the world, getting to know the magic. And then Season 2 was when they really kicked it into overdrive with the plot. So I could see something similar here.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Okay. I could also see them adopting a similar format to the classic Disney afternoon stuff and doing like, like 5-part arcs and stuff like that.
That'd be pretty interesting.
It's something that the new Star Wars shows do pretty well from what I hear, are like, these multi-episode arcs. So, anyways, okay.
Our family is awesome.
and there's our first launch pad, our first time hearing launch pad, and I think he sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, like he actually does he's distinct enough to know that to sound different from the original Terrence McGovern version, but you can still tell like, yep, that's the same lovable launch pad we all know and love.
Family truly is the greatest adventure of the ground. Really
DuckTales. Woohoo.
DuckTales.
Woohoo. Disney XD.
All right. So that's about it, Jacob. Not really a ton in there to like really dive deep into and speculate on. However, like I said, I think the main thing that this trailer showed off was the characters. I'm excited to see Huey, Dewey, and Louie actually get different character traits. I'm super excited about Stalker Webby, probably more excited than I should be. I think Scrooge is an interesting kind of like they've done some interesting sort of legacy things with his character. So overall, I'm really jazzed about it. Of course, we got Donald there as well. Donald's in the mix. Donald's a big Indiana Jones type folk hero. What's up with that? It's craziness, Jacob.
Yeah, and his nephews don't know.
All right. So yeah, folks, obviously we'll be recapping this series as it comes on air over the summer. Stoked for that. Gonna try and get some of the DuckTales out. We took a break on a really good DuckTales episode. We haven't done any DuckTales in about a month. Gonna try and get some of that out for you guys. Of course, Milo Murphy Law is just about to enter the month of Milo in March. So we'll be having a lot of coverage of that show. Samurai Jack, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
No future content here.
Oh, yeah. Any final words, Jacob?
We have high hopes for you, DuckTales. Don't let us down.
Yeah, please don't be Teen Titans Go, DuckTales. Please don't. That's all I ask. Just don't be like Teen Titans Go or Powerpuff Girls, please. All right, see you later, folks.